Hi guys, this is GSMDome.com and I'm here with the unboxing of the Honor 200 Pro. It's one of those portrait phones that people have been talking about because it's actually focused on great portrait shots and a new collaboration between Honor and Studio Harcourt from France, Paris. Now the handset itself is somewhere between high, mid-range and flagship. It has one of the new CPUs, Snapdragon 8S Gen 3, which we saw recently on the Motorola Edge 50 Ultra. It's got a dual selfie camera here at the front side, some pretty powerful sensors at the back side, and it's inspired by, well, artistry. There's a lot of inspiration from Gaudi for the back camera, and also inspiration from a major Paris photo studio for its portrait shots. Okay, so the price is 500 euros, at least that's what we know so far, and we're going to be unboxing the phone and we're going to go a little bit in depth with its features that include AI. So don't expect much from the box. The Honor 200 Pro includes a key used to access the slots, which don't include the micro SD, and here we have the cable, which is of the USB-A to USB-C variety, and that's everything here. I'm expecting that your unit, not mine, which is just a test unit, will get a manual in the box as well. Now, as far as the design is concerned, let's talk about it. So, the device is available in Moonlight White, Black and Ocean Cyan. This is Ocean Cyan with a dual texture. You can see the sea waves here, and also a slightly shiny part here around the camera. Now the camera module may resemble something like a jewelry, but it's supposed to be inspired by a set of special windows created by Gaudi in the Milà apartment complex or something like that. The thickness is 8.2 millimeters and the weight is 199 grams. We've got glass at the back side, we have a metal frame and an IP55 certification for dust and waterproofing. Now the phone itself is curved on the sides at the back and curved on the sides at the front side, but the grip is quite fine. I didn't feel like it's slippery, and the buttons have a pretty okay feedback. It's a pretty premium build, I'll say that much, and it's a very good looking handset with a lot of symmetry. That's one of the core aspects, including the camera has quite a bit of symmetry. Now the screen you're seeing here, well, this one is a 6.78 inch OLED with a resolution of 2700 over 1224 pixels. It's got a 120 Hz refresh rate and support for HDR plus up to 4000 nits of brightness, and the 90% screen to body ratio. Interesting settings for the screen include protection for your eyes. So if you go here and go to the Oasis eye protection, there are quite a few features. This one protects your sleep and the circadian night display features. We also have eye comfort, dynamic dimming, and the PWM dimming for the annoying flicker which may affect your eyes. So this one actually adjusts the screen color temperature based on your body rhythm, so your melatonin secretion will not be affected. And we also have color settings here like natural tone and normal and vivid. Now going further than that, because we risk turning this into a review, we go inside the phone where we find the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 8S Gen 3 processor. This is basically sort of like a lieutenant to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. If you remember the Snapdragon 870 for the 888, that it's roll. We also saw it on the Motorola Edge 50 Ultra recently, and this time it comes with a vapor chamber, so gamers beware, in a good way. There's 12 gigs of RAM, there's also a version with 16, and there's half a terabyte of storage. There's also a version with 1 terabyte. No micro SD, just so you know. On the battery front, as usual, Honor is leading the pack with a 5200 mAh battery, silicon carbon by the way, with bigger density and lesser usage in time. The charge is 100 watts for wire and 66 watts or 60 watts wireless from what I know. Plus there's also 5 watts reverse wire charging and reverse wireless charging as well. We got stereo speakers here. There's one at the bottom and one at the top, so not the earpiece but rather a separate speaker. And I also see that there's no audio jack, but we do have an infrared emitter here at the top side. And speaking of emitters and such things, the phone provides you with Wi-Fi 6 connectivity, 5G, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS, Galileo, GLONASS, QZSS and BDS, NFC and USB-C 2.0 port at the bottom side. Now, there's a fingerprint scanner in the screen in this area here, the optical variety, but you also can unlock the screen using the secondary bokeh camera of this dual setup. Speaking of which, the device provides a dual front camera with a main 50 megapixel sensor with f2.1 aperture and a secondary 2 megapixel sensor for your bokeh needs. It shoots 4K video on 30 frames per second and also has HDR. Okay, now it's time to talk about the back camera, and this is where things get interesting. You can see here the dual tone flash. We have a main 50 megapixel camera with f1.9 aperture, face detection, autofocus, and optical image stabilization. It's a new type of sensor, one I haven't quite heard of before. It's a super dynamic 4900, something like that. Measures 1.1/3 of an inch. Now, aside from that, there's also a 50 megapixel telephoto camera with optical image stabilization and 2.5x optical zoom. And finally, an ultra-wide 12 megapixel camera with autofocus, which means it's good for macro. We have 4K capture here as well, and the camera interface is quite generous with the features. But there's a lot to talk about here. Let's take them one at a time. So we have panorama, we have super macro, night video, slow motion, watermark, solo cut, scan documents, pro, time-lapse, high resolution, and story. We have multi-video, which can be set up like this. A combo of cameras, rear and front, and so forth. We have the video section where we can use AI or leave it off. I don't see any special stabilization option, but I may be wrong, but I do see a special bokeh video option, which I like. And then there's the photo department where you can tweak the color profile to natural, vibrant, or authentic. You can also activate the AI, and there are other things to play with, like moving photo, HDR, filters, and so much more. Then we have portrait, where there's a new thing. So aside from the regular portraits and the HDR portraits, you're also treated to something called Harcourt. Harcourt is a studio, a photo studio from Paris. It was set up in the 1930s, 1934. It creates legendary shots like this. You can see here the options: Harcourt Classic, Harcourt Color, and Harcourt Vibrant. You have to pay $2,000 to get your photo taken in a studio. They'll give you champagne, they'll give you professional makeup, and you'll be allowed to stay there for 1 or 2 hours. People who have taken photos here include Roger Federer, the Queen of Jordan, and Edith Piaf, and a variety of other stars. So Harcourt is working with Honor now, and they've created a few shots. I actually tested out these photos on myself, and this is actually one that I like the best. Back in the day, for many decades, Harcourt used to deal in, well, black and white photos, elegant ones, artistic ones, with special filaments of tungsten used to make the photos appear more realistic, highlighting the shadows and the light. They play very well with the shadows and the light. They're photo masters, and now it has been translated into this cooperation with the folks of Honor. Now going further, we have the night mode here, and finally the aperture. There's much to say about this camera, but Harcourt remains one of the core things, and also the fact that you can auto capture moving things. Highlights capture on. You can create highlights of the moving things around you, even if they're moving fast. I think we've covered pretty much everything about the camera, unless I'm forgetting anything. But I think we should move on now and maybe talk about the software. Here it's Android 14 with a special Honor interface on top, and the core here is the assistant area with its smarts. We have AI suggestions, recommendations of apps based on your habits. We have magic text, which allows you to extract text from an image. We've seen this before on many handsets. And my very own personal favorite, Magic Portal. Magic Portal is basically a hidden sidebar which lets you do drag and drop with text and photos, so you can activate certain features without doing the extra steps. So for example, if I'm searching for the new Balenciaga shoes and I do a screenshot like this, I can keep the screenshot pressed, drag and drop it to the side to the Magic Portal, and look them up on eBay. As quick as that. Okay, search using this image, and here we go. It recommends me Jimmy Choo, Balenciaga, and so forth. That's just one example. Now imagine that a friend of yours sent you a text message, let's go to the club, and he says the name of the club. You just keep it pressed, drag and drop to Google Maps, and you'll be all set to be guided to that destination. Aside from that, you can see me using gestures here for a variety of features like recents. We have here the newsfeed from Google. You can pinch the screen to see your cards, which are basically widgets, which are pretty cute setup. They're very minimalistic and quite good looking. There's also something called Magic Capsule, which goes like this. I'm going to exemplify it with a simple thing, provided that I can find the clock app. It's basically the dynamic island on the iPhone. So I'm doing this. We have the timer here in a capsule, and I can expand it. You can also expand notifications from this area or just close them. That's the Magic Capsule in a nutshell. Okay, that's pretty much it. Software-wise, there's much more to uncover if you want to For example, here you have your area with Honor Connect. You can connect and seamlessly transfer stuff from your other Honor devices. We also have tweaks for the home screen and style. There's always on display, magazine unlock, lock screen signature, fonts and themes to do your customization. There's biometrics and password, the digital well-being, and so much more. There's a lot of things happening with AI on this phone, but also a lot of things happening with lovely portrait capture in an artistic fashion. This is the Honor 200 Pro, so if you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars taking your photo taken in a professional setup, this should be the solution. And of course, lots of AI and a huge battery life. That's it from us here at GSMDome.com. Hope you enjoyed this. Goodbye.